wonder what it takes to live a life creatively? So do we. That's why we're here, to find out what clever people do to be successful in the arts. I'm Cecily Korse, and this is the Trailer Talks. We're interviewing artists and musicians, educators and entrepreneurs, at home and on the road. So come on, it's going to be a good trip.
Hey, welcome to the trailer. Come on in.
Today, we're in the trailer with Dennis Keeley, an educator, thought leader, and photographer who lives in Southern California, and we're talking about his creative life.
So my life's been about a lot of creativity, but also a lot of learning. It's been about, I've been a teacher longer than I ever thought. So I've been trying to help people find a way that they can live more comfortably than just creativity.
So, actually, reading your resume is like jaw-dropping, pretty much. It's amazing the depth and the breadth of your career. Can you describe
So far,
can you describe the journey thus far?
it's really hard to describe. I'm a late starter, so that I did a lot of prep work from age 1 through about 27. And at 27, I was living in one room in Hollywood, painting houses, and at 28, I was on tour with a band. So all of a sudden, things started to happen, but it was a long time coming. People were very worried. Part of my role as the chair of this photo department is about giving some patience to this process, and not thinking that life is such a big race, because truly at 27 I didn't have a lot of options, and at 28 things started to roll along pretty quickly, and have continued to do so till now. It's hard for me to look back because I'm looking forward with much more deliberation. Become much more important at this age. Now I've finally reached an age where people actually listen to me. For the first 3 years now, people actually listen to what I say, and I don't have to listen to bullshit anymore. I don't have time. So I'm really not looking back so carefully, but really looking at what will I do next. My resume doesn't read like everybody else's. It's not a step-by-step path to get to where I am. It is the circuitous route, and I don't advise that for others, though I do recognize that in some people, especially my students.
What do you view as your responsibilities to your students?
My biggest responsibility is to introduce people to themselves, because as they want to be something else, that often doesn't work. If you have a life that doesn't work for you, you have nobody else to blame but yourself. If you spend your time trying to figure out who you are and what it is that you might really like to do, I think you have a 100% chance of getting there. But if you listen to other people, everything that people told me didn't work. All it did was make it more clear that I wasn't like everybody else. My students are not like anybody else. People that decide to have a life in art, not even a career, but a life in art, are making some pretty bold declarations about themselves without any evidence. as people spend more time developing a more individualized plan, there's a much better chance of them actually becoming that, and of them finding out what it is that they want to do rather than becoming a standardized version of what we think a career in the arts looks like.
So can you tell with your students who's going to succeed in the creative side and who really should have a regular job?
Sometimes it's your biggest screw-ups who are more likely to become successful, because even the loose structure that we've created around learning to be a photographer or an image maker, as I have some students that really break all those rules, 5 years after college, they have a career doing something that we didn't teach them how to do. They're doing something that they did themselves, and I'm proud to play a part of that. I'm glad to see that an institution can be responsible to that in some unfocused way. So permission is a really big part of learning. Giving people permission to screw up and to fail and to work hard, to practice, to not move at the easy answers, but to struggle with uncertainty is really an important part of an individual search. But an institution really has a hard time supporting that. It looks terrible. It looks messy. It looks irresponsible. But it's probably the one thing that an institution can do that gives that uncertainty a kind of quality of process.
I love that you're educating and creating at the same time, because obviously you haven't stopped creating. You have a book coming out this year?
I will finish my book this year. I probably...
That sounds like a burden.
Well, publishing is different than finishing. So the production of everything is different than the creative finishing of something. If there's one thing that we do teach in school, it's the patience and persistence that artists need to have surrounding the things they make, because in their souls, so to speak, they want to abandon everything they make immediately and move on to the next thing. So one of the things that we teach is to try to stay faithful to something. You are the advocate for the thing you've made. Before anybody ever decides it's successful, you're the person who has to really put it out there. Otherwise, it stays underneath your bed the rest of your life. Nobody ever sees it. You get to be the smartest person that's ever lived, and nobody knows.
So because you always have a camera with you, I'm wondering how many pictures you've made that are under your bed.
It's a good question. As I've taken this job, because I was really interested in seeing a more current and better picture of how learning works, I've put part of my career on hold, in that I'm not pushing work out for gallery, but doesn't mean that I can just work in a vacuum. I can't ask my students to make work if I don't make work. I can't ask them to take on the responsibility or engage failure if I'm not doing the same, if I'm not engaging failure every day. Most everybody's pictures are terrible, even my own. But practice is really an important part of learning. So as I go out there and practice every single day, my bad pictures don't get better, but my good pictures do.
So what's your creative process like?
You know, that's too big of a question, because there's the creative need, and then there's the process, which is very separate. I can be the most creative person at home in my or here on this couch. The process is about action, about an activity, about a commitment to going out there and making pictures every day, especially in places that don't look like pictures. So that one of the things that we talk about in school is going better places to take better pictures. And so
You talk about making pictures rather than taking pictures.
well, the taking of the picture is what happens when you push the button. The making of the picture is what happens behind the camera. Some great photographers have said some great things. One of the more important photographers said, "You find the pictures with your feet, not with the camera. You actually have to go out for a walk. It is a walking art, because without movement, without moving towards the picture or away from the picture or to the side, you're just making a mechanical replication of something. So we have surveillance everywhere. Is that art?
Of your body of work, what do you think resonates most with the people who are consuming it?
That's funny. I do this work on the freeway. I photograph from my car while it's in motion, other cars in motion, because I found that I spend more time in my car than probably any other single place. Commuting is a really big part of our lives here in California. And I've spent time in Mexico City, where they seem to even more live in their cars, but that's what's coming here. And I would have thought that those were the works that had the most commonality with other people, though I still find the pictures that I make of celebrities are more popular. I made a picture of Ry Cooder recently. I put that thing up on my Facebook page yesterday because he has a new CD coming out, and it was shared almost 100 times within the first 2 hours, most of which was in Japan, which when it came back to me was all in a foreign language. Couldn't even read it. So they either like the picture or they don't, but they found it important to comment on it. But I would not have thought that those pictures still have such a sense of mystery about them. People really are still fascinated with other people, other creative people, more than anything else. More than anything else, they love to see what they think a creative person looks like.
That was a peek inside of Dennis Keeley's life and journey.
You can find out more about Dennis at his website, denniskeeley.com, and at the Art Center's faculty pages at artcenter.edu.
Check out those sites and join us for our next road trip when the trailer talks. I'm Cecily Korst. See you next time.